Let's get straight into it. It's on all the front pages. Starmer visiting the White House. It was not an easy wicket. There is Keir's trump card. There the two are. Here we are. Let's just show you the two together. And there's it just goes on and on. I won't bore you with it, but that's the key phrase, isn't it? Starmer. He's pulled off a diplomatic win. And that is the thrust. I was listening to Times Radio last night. They were very, very positive. It was all about wooing the president. Let's just have a little look at to what extent the Trump light affected Starmer. Okay, how orange did Starmer go? That's what I'm frankly. So you can see if we colour this up. You see, Trump is quite orange, and the question is, with his sort of orange glow, did Keir catch the sun? Did he become a bit Trumpy? Is that how he did it? Because he definitely had a good day yesterday, Keir Starmer. There's no question about it. So we've got actually, well, he looks a bit orange there. Shades of orange. Here we go. Light orange, sun-kissed, light fizz, marmalade, tangerine twist, Trump orange is there, deep coral. So Trump is very orange. Did Keir become a bit more orange? We reckon he's somewhere between light fizz and marmalade. Oh, gosh. He's gone fully marmalade. Well, he has to, doesn't he? He has to take on a bit of a Trumpy feel about him. He's already gone over there and said we're spending more money on troops and we're not doing foreign aid and all that stuff.
Look, the stakes could not have been higher for this trip. I mean, this is the most important moment of his, time as Prime Minister. And he was already going into quite difficult conditions because we know that Trump had been, not happy about some of the things that people had said about him in the past. Macron had just gone over. And I have to say, and of course, I'm a, Labour supporting peer, as people know, Keir Starmer played an absolute blinder.
Do you think he did, actually?
I think he did. I think he did very well because I don't think Trump is the US president that he would want, but he is the US president that we have. And you have to act accordingly. And he did very, very skillfully yesterday, I think, handle this kind of curious orange beast extremely well. And it wasn't just to sort of survive and the body language and the nonsense about the special relationship. There were two very tangible things that were needed out of yesterday. One was to try and exclude Britain from a trade war.
Yes.
And that was a kind of, it's not a win yet, but, that was more than we could have expected yesterday. Very, very promising. And the other on the Ukraine, which is a bit more complex, but it wasn't a bad one. And I think the big moment for me, because it was a very, very low moment for me when, as a huge admirer of President Zelensky, when Trump called him a dictator and slagged him off. And he swallowed his words yesterday.
Yes, he did. He said, did I say that? I can't remember. So, let's take a look at some of the moments then. Starmer set the tone for the meeting by giving Trump the invitation we all knew he wanted.
It is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you. So can I present the letter from the King to you?
Thank you very much. Well, that is really nice. I must make sure his signature's on that. Otherwise it's not quite as meaningful. It is, and that's quite a signature, isn't it? Beautiful. He's a beautiful man, a wonderful man, and we appreciate it. I've known him, gotten to know him very well, actually. Yeah. First term and now second term. Perhaps you'd like to say what that very important paragraph.
Yes, so this is a letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special. This has never happened before. This is unprecedented.
And that says at Windsor. That's
Yes.
really something.
Yes. What I haven't got yet is your answer. I do need to.
The answer is yes. On behalf of.
I mean, that's the first thing I saw, and I thought that is really well done by the Prime Minister.
It was brilliant. I mean, that is a Labour Prime Minister going in there and really delivering for sort of king and country. And the choreography of that was brilliant. The theatre of taking the letter, and it worked. It was a moment, so it worked for the press, and it was, we're talking about it. And Trump loved it, that kind of little element of surprise and the big signature from the king. And look, of course, he's having to go in and flatten to his ego, but he did it in a way which was very British, and that state visit is something that Trump really, really wanted, and it was very clever, and that would have taken so much behind the scenes. The one thing about Starmer is he and his team, when there are big moments like this, they do their homework.
Yeah, you could see that someone had done well there,
they
yeah.
do- they
I
prep the
wondered
ground.
whether the danger of that is when Trump hears the word king, of course, he thinks he's the king. He's already tweeted a picture of himself in a crown. So Starmer says, there's a chance for you to visit the king. And I'm thinking Trump's going to suddenly say, oh, there'll be two kings. And that's bring the whole thing down. So, he got away with all of it, Starmer. I thought we'll see a bit more. A reporter asking the president whether he still thinks Zelensky is a dictator.
Mr. President, do you still think that Mr. Zelensky is a dictator?
Did I say that? I can't believe I said that. Next question.
Credit to Chris Mason of the BBC for a great question, because he's basically run the tape back and
Can I just say,
erased it.
If that was Biden, we'd all be going, "Oh my goodness, this guy's absolutely lost it." I mean, that is pretty
But
bad.
it's not Biden. This
I know,
is a
I know,
different
I know.
beast.
But that is, I know.
In his opening remarks at the press conference, Trump gave a mixed review of the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister Starmer, you've been terrific in our discussions. You're a very tough negotiator, however. I'm not sure I like that, but that's okay.
So again, Guto, that speaks well of Starmer. Actually.
That's an accolade, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was watching, not as a cynic, but slightly sceptical. Was he trying to patronise him? Was that a little bit of a sort of, you're out of your depth here? But I don't think it was. No. I think he probably did go in there, and he stood there next to him and actually held the line on a number of things that would have been uncomfortable to say. So credit where credit's due. Can I just raise, is it a little bit sad for a mature, modern sort of democracy that the trump card to play is an unelected monarch? Do we still think that that is it? And for a Labour government to sort of have to hide behind that, just a thought, just to put it out there, that we actually think the pomp and ceremony is really the biggest thing that we have to offer the world at the moment, rather than something else.
But we know that that is a big deal for people. It's a big deal for Trump. But just going back to that point about the comment that President Trump made, I know Keir Starmer, and the one thing I'd say about him is he is really steely. Like, he's not a kind of overtly showy, aggressive person. He's not somebody who
Must come first.
President today about a backstop for Europe if the peacekeeping force ends up in Ukraine. Did you feel like you got a satisfying answer for yourself and for Europe? And Mr. President, if you want to comment on that as well, please do.
I felt we had a very productive discussion. Obviously, as the President says, the deal has to come first.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think of that, Guto? This is the trickiest bit, isn't it?
It's tricky, and it was never going to solved in an hour. But I think there's something very interesting about what Trump said in a Trumpian kind of way. He's saying, look, there'll be facts on the ground. If America's on the ground and America is extracting valuable minerals that is going to boost the US economy, then America's going to treat that as a piece of land they're going to defend till the ultimate. So it's a different way. It's not as neat. It's not as black and white. But in a way, he signaled very strongly that when Putin hopefully gets out of Ukraine, he will not step back in without stepping on the toes of the Americans.
It is astonishing, though. You've got a country which is on its knees because it's been invaded by Russia, and America comes knocking and says, can we have your rare earth?
I mean, it is extraordinary.
What is going on?
I mean, it is extraordinary. But also, just if you really take a step back, here we are on, this Friday. We have really had 14 days that have shaken the world order. It was 14 nights ago where Trump had that very lengthy call with Putin, where he effectively brought Putin in from the cold. It was this day, 14 days ago, where J.D. Vance made that extraordinary speech at the Munich Security Conference, where, he was, a big attack on Europe. And I think I actually do agree with some of what Guto has said, which is that I think Trump will feel if there is American financial orange skin in the game in terms of Ukraine.
Well done.
Then that will, he will be thinking about that. Interestingly, when he was asked about tariffs on the UK, he also did say the UK is slightly different from the EU. We've got a warm swap because I've got lots of investments in the UK. I think where he sees he's got financial investments, he will take he'll put a bit of an arm around that.
We've got to take our break, but we'd love to know, have you been charmed by the Starmer, Richard in Portsmouth? What do you think?
No, I definitely haven't, Jeremy. Keir Starmer has come across to me as a complete and utter wimp.
Okay.
It's fine having a special relationship with a president and a country whose values we share. But when it comes to Donald Trump, I think I'm not alone in saying, as a member of the United Kingdom, I don't stand alongside his values.
Well,
He was the first man.
I was going to say, a second state visit is a very big thing. I can't even think if anyone's ever had one in my lifetime. And you're giving it to somebody who is sketchy, let's say. I mean, there was a little moment, I'll show you, this is an interruption that Starmer had to face. He was talking and Trump basically told him to stop. Have a look.
You mentioned Canada. I think you're trying to find a divide between us that doesn't exist. We're the closest of nations, and we had very good discussions today, but we didn't discuss Canada.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Now, what do you think of that, Richard? It sounds like he just thought, I'm bored now.
Oh, exactly. But there's Canada. Trump spills off a load of rubbish out of his lips to provoke people, and then he backtracks from it. But he puts himself in a position of strength to exploit. And Keir Starmer has gone over there saying, yeah, we'll put foot soldiers on the ground. Basically what he's saying, he's not defending Ukraine, he's providing Trump with a security patrol for mineral exploiters to go out there and exploit.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. Lots of calls. Just on that theme, are you happy with the way Starmer ran the show yesterday? James in Liverpool, are you?
Hi, Jeremy. Definitely not. I'd like to know why people are praising Starmer, because he's just gone out there and done what he does here. He's gone out, and when J.D. Vance was talking about freedom of speech, Starmer has jumped in and said, the people here have got freedom of speech. That's a basic lie. Where's the freedom of speech when they're locking people up for tweeting stuff? When the MP has just got, he should have been serving time. In my eyes, there's people there that are getting locked up for tweeting, and men like him are getting let off with assault here. I think he's weak, and I wish we had Trump here instead of him, to be fair.
Yeah, there's a lot there. In praise of Starmer, there's a little moment I'm going to show you where Trump had obviously had quite a tough negotiation with him about whether we should face the same tariffs as the EU. Have a look at what Trump said.
Mr. President, did our Prime Minister persuade you not to put tariffs on the UK?
He tried. He was working hard, I'll tell you that. He earned whatever the hell they pay him over there.
Yes, that kind of here and whatever the hell. So, James, what about that? That was praise, and Starmer wasn't just lying down and tickling his tummy or whatever the phrase is.
No, well, I wish we had Trump here for the next 3 or 4 years, because he'd sort this country out, not him.
All right, so is Trump better than Starmer? I mean, there are people who say we need a version of Trump here, Guto.
I think what Trump is doing, caveated with all the things that I find loathsome about him, is he is forcing us to look at things afresh. And some of that is sort of slightly mad, and some of that, there's a point. So I wasn't aware of the rich mineral deposits in Ukraine that give the real prospect, not only of rebuilding the country, but of it having a viable and prosperous economic future. I mean, there's some things there. It was always the breadbasket of the world. So there are things like that. There are issues that he brings up
Trump
about...
Gaza, when he says, look, we can make it the Riviera of the Middle East.
So again, beyond the sort of comedy, not funny at all, kind of ludicrousness of it, there is a question that he raises about there has to be a future for Gaza, which is ideally positioned in some ways in terms of being on the Med, the sun shines there. That has got to be better than selling avocados to people who routinely then shut you down and bomb you. You know, it's sort of, it hasn't had a viable economy. He's raising the prospect of it being a place where people want to invest, which gives people the prospect of decent livelihoods, which makes them less likely to go to war.
Except the only thing about that is ethnically moving out all
Well, he
the
did say they'd have
Gaza
to
which is why I
people,
put the caveat
yeah,
first.
which is the
And
big problem.
Netanyahu said that Trump sees things that other people don't see. Tam is in Manchester. How did Keir Starmer do yesterday, Tam?
He didn't, Jeremy, I'm afraid. And good morning to you, though. You talk about Starmer being the charmer. He's a gallivanter. He's more interested in getting his face on the world stage. He's proved that by his gallivanting all around the world. He's not interested in the British people or the politics. He's proven that by his policies. What more can I say? He was a Tory plant.
Well,
Ayesha knows that.
Well, Ayesha will disagree, I'm sure.
Well,
Tory
like
plants.
Blair.
He wiped them out at the election. How is he a Tory plant, Tam?
Where did he come from? Look at his background. You never get a sir being a socialist. I'm sorry, Jeremy. You can quote it up any way you want.
Oh, I'm so tempted to try and think that one through. These sirs who are so... Yeah, once you accept a knighthood, you're not a socialist. That's a good point.
I just think it's ridiculous to say that he's been nothing but attacked by the Tories, and he's only the fifth ever Labour leader in the history of time that has managed to outright win a general election. And I understand that the caller obviously doesn't like him, but I think to call him a Tory plant is somewhat, given the amount of slagging off he gets from the Tories, I think that's...
We're mentioning Ukraine. We should just go to a little bit more content here. So Starmer used a quote from World War II about winning the peace. We should see that.
There's a famous slogan in the United Kingdom from after the Second World War. That is that we have to win the peace. We believe it's not taking part that counts. What counts is winning. If you don't win, you don't deliver.
I've never heard that before. It's not the taking part that counts. It's what counts is winning. Literally making up stuff now. Is that a phrase in Britain? I thought it was the other way around.
But what
matters is taking part, not winning.
But what's really important is this thing about winning the peace, and I think this is really, really important whatever happens. Like, for example, when people look back, particularly that second Iraq invasion, which was an absolute disaster, everybody was like, oh, great, we've got in and it's all over really quickly. No, that's not, look at the turmoil that then... So let's be really clear-eyed about this. We haven't even seen the terms of a deal yet. Zelensky is going to meet the president in the White House today to maybe sign a deal on this minerals. Russia has not yet signed a deal. Ukraine has not yet signed a deal. We are a long way off an actual peace deal. And we have to think about how is this peace going to hold? That is the important thing.
Right. Susan's in Buckinghamshire. You're concerned the King is being drawn into this. The King as in King Charles, Susan.
No, I'm not concerned. I just thought Keir Starmer and perhaps the King have just played their ace card to Trump.
Oh, so you're happy with that, are you?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Oh,
I
okay,
think
right.
It caught Trump a bit unawares, and I think it's made him, he's got to play our game now. He wants to come to Britain, so we've just played that, and he's going to want to please us now because this is what he wants. I
don't know. I mean, Guto's making the point. It's a bit old-fashioned to say we can have a. You can have a nice dinner in a room with gold wallpaper. That's Trump could do that in Vegas.
You can't do it with the king.
With the king. Okay.
There's a few things that Trump just can't buy, and that's one of them.
Yeah, I was going to just show. Well, actually, we'll save it till after the break. I mentioned the Queen moment, and this is a very famous "Dear Queen Elizabeth II." When the first state visit happened, there's Trump. They're going to inspect a guard. You must never outflank or walk ahead of the Queen. And it was said that she played him offside. Whoops.
Oh.
And he blocks her. And she... So, there we go. Thank you, Guardian, for that footage. It was one of those ones where I just thought maybe the Queen is that wise. She's just making this a bit uncomfortable. I don't know. Lineker did a whole VAR thing on it, saying she pulled the defenders back. So, we miss her. Brian in Newport, good morning.
Hello.
So, Brian, was it a good day for Keir Starmer yesterday?
No, there were three things that I think I picked up on. First of all, giving Trump this thing with the king is going to cost a lot of money. We're going to have to take out of the and pay for this thing, and the country is in a terrible state as it is. Then you got the Chagos Islands, where Trump said it was 140 years, but it's been banded around in 99.
Yep.
And then he told Trump that he would increase the thing for the army and defense and stuff. But then what's Trump going to figure or think when he sees that Starmer's lied to him and it's going to take the money for the Chagos Islands out of that defence money?
Is that what his plan? So, yeah, I see what you mean. We're going to have to pay to rent the Chagos Islands, the bit of them that has our joint base on it. And you're thinking we're going to take that out of our defence budget?
Well, when Starmer was asked about this, when he announced the change with foreign aid and stuff like that, he refused on the number of times to answer the question because he was asked, are you going to be taking
Is that true? You could do a yes, no.
I don't know all the details about that, but what I think is a fair point to make is, and I think we just do need to think about this, that there's no doubt from a diplomatic point of view, that visit, look, if that visit had gone badly, we'd be sitting here having a very different conversation. All your listeners would be ringing and going, he absolutely fluffed it, right? That would be the general kind of, he completely bombed on the world stage. But we do have to think, to your caller's point, when that visit happens, what will be the mood in the country when that happens? That is something that we do need to think about.
Because we had last time the famous thing where Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London, allows a massive inflatable pig to be flown within view. Trump lands, doesn't get off the plane. While he's sitting on the plane on the tarmac, all of our phones flash. He's tweeted. What's he tweeted? Sadiq Khan is a stone cold loser. Right, so it didn't get off to a good start. Thank you, Brian. Ian in Glasgow, hello.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Well, listen, we here thought Starmer did well. Every caller so far has said he blew it.
No, apart from Sue.
Oh, apart from Sue, yeah, you're right. Sue said he played the king in very well. What do you think, Ian?
He played the Stumer very well. I'm Scottish, as you probably can gather.
Yeah.
And we are used to having a long line of lackeys subservient to England. We've got no say whatsoever what the Stumer says to Trump.
What's the word I'm missing here? The Stumer? What's the Stumer?
Stumer.
What's a Stumer?
A Stumer is an idiot. An idiot.
The Stumer.
Do you know what
an idiot is? So Starmer wasn't the charmer, he was the Stumer.
He's a Stumer, yeah.
I'm worried I might be. Hope it's not offensive.
We're from a long line of lackeys.
Yep.
Subservient to England.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, Sturgeon.
King Charles.
John Swinney did a very warm call with Donald Trump.
I don't know about John Swinney at all. I've voted Labour all my life. Unfortunately, the sooner we're rid of England, the better. And Stumer, we've got no say whatsoever. And he's a long line of sycophantic Stumers that come out of the Labour Party.
Okay, all right. We've had a good run of Stumers there. Thank you. We've got another Ian in Hertfordshire who may or may not use the word Stumer. Hello, Ian in Hertfordshire.
Good morning.
Oh, I don't sense you are Scottish yourself.
No, I'm from just outside Watford.
Okay, well, there we are. Keep it rational. So what did you think yesterday?
Well, he's playing the game, isn't he?
It is a bit of a game, you're right. He can't go in and say, look, you're an orange idiot.
There's all these cliches, pick your battles, playing the game. It's a charm offensive, right?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, we weren't going to spend £6.5 to £8 billion pounds, and suddenly we're paying £8 billion extra and changing our policy.
On foreign aid, you mean? Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. And he's gone there because he's got to go and see him yesterday. and say, look what I've done, Mr. Trump.
I know.
I've just done what you've...
I mean,
I've
there
just
is
done
no
what you-
doubt, Guto, is there, that they moved the money from foreign aid to defence in time with this visit. There's no question.
No, absolutely. And it's the new reality. And in that sense, it's brutal. It really is Darwinian what is happening to the world. And the shots are all being called. But for me, I must say, it's humbling to think, OK, so for years, we've got away with having a certain kind of political outlook in the UK because we could, because America would pick up the pieces, because they would charge American taxpayers a lot more to defend Europe than we were prepared to allocate of our defence budget to protect ourselves. And so you can say that it's a grown-up, healthy thing that we have to stump up what it costs to sort of live the kind of life that we want to live here.
One brief point on that. This idea that, like, America has had no benefit from the fact that it has always chosen to have quite an active role in events. And the idea that this country has never stepped up to help America. Well, you just look at things like Iraq and Afghanistan, where actually many of our troops paid a heavy price, and that was America's war.
We've got to go to our break. Sorry, later we'll be asking...